so glad you're all here. Goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Always glad that you showed up to your mat. I believe we started somewhere similar to this last week, so it felt good. We'll go there again. If you want to go somewhere else, you know you can. So what I'm going to do here is make a little ramp, a little incline with my props. And you can do this with any number of things, with pillows, blankets, car headrests, anything you have available. But kind of the standard setup here is a block on a lower height or something on a lower height, something a little higher behind it, and then something long, which can be a longer pillow, decorative pillow, if you don't have a yoga bolster, or even a rolled blanket or towel. I'm going to go for the blanket today. And then bringing your tailbone to the end and just carefully laying back down, and feel free to adjust yourself just so you're stable here. And legs might stretch out long, they might stay bent, they might come for a butterfly, Supta Baddha position here. And really anywhere you go, even if you are without any props behind you, just be somewhere where you can really arrive to your practice. Start to let go of what has transpired. Prior to your practice on this Thursday. If you've got anything waiting for you afterwards, anything on that to-do list, just try to set that aside for the time being. Notice anywhere at all you might be holding on, and feel free to make any little adjustments to further relax in this first shake. Start to become aware of your breath. tension on the breath. It might be an audible breath, but it might just be a slightly deeper version, a quieter, more natural breath. Let's take a couple more rounds here. Let's draw one more breath in through your nose. Pause at the top. Open your mouth and gently sigh that breath out. Now slowly start to move. Letting your legs guide the way. Changing the shape, whether you are bent, go to straight, or vice versa, bringing the knees together for butterfly. And then if you're up on some props, let's carefully roll to the side. So finding a fetal position and using your bicep as a pillow. Doesn't matter which way you come. Let's take a couple of breaths here. And once you're ready, let's press our way up and come to your hands and your knees. It's a good place to pad your knees a bit with a blanket. That would make you more comfy. Doubling the mat does just as well. And once you reach this tabletop position, organically find your way into some movement, swaying the hips, maybe rounding and flexing the spine through cat and cow. Any combination or something completely different if you're inclined to move a certain way, then just follow that. Finding a neutral hands and knees, box pose. Pay special attention to the hips lining up over the knees, trying not to let them travel forward or backwards. We'll start to walk the hands toward the top of the mat, letting the chest sink down in the process. So coming into our Anahatasana, melting heart pose. And once you start to feel that pull in the shoulders, then let the elbows soften, let the forehead soften down, and keep the heart sinking toward the mat. Tailbone lifting up in the process. Once you land, just assess. Hopefully it's not too much. You can always bring the hands back a half inch, an inch or so, or you can add a bend to those elbows just to take some of the intensity out of the shoulders. Make sure the tops of the feet are purposefully pressed into the mat without using a lot of muscular action there, just having them grounded so that you can soften up the legs and soften down the spine. Really bring that focus to your heart center, letting it get heavier and heavier toward the mat as the tailbone rises. Evenness through the breath. If the breath ever does get a little too quick, maybe a little stressed or jagged, if there's anything uncomfortable in the breath, that can be an indication that you might need to ease out of the posture, either all the way out or just back off of the sensation. And don't ever be afraid to do that. We'll stay a few breaths more here. As you prepare to release, give those elbows a more generous bend and maybe walk the hands back, pressing your way up. And let's bring the knees about hip width from each other, pretty narrow stance with the knees, and sit back to a child's pose. So your thighs are going to rest right under your rib cage. Let the hands come back toward your feet and let the palms rest facing up, backs of the hands on the mat. Heads of the shoulders really rounding forward. Imagine your breath going into that space behind your heart center, really breathing deeply, feeling that expansion through the upper back. To stay with our child's pose, but taking the knees wider and letting the belly rest between the thighs. Maybe the hands walk forward option here if you'd like to grab your blocks or even a pillow, something just to give you some height under the forearms. And then drop your head between your biceps, just giving a little lift to the arms. Getting back into the shoulders, opening up here. Just feel the difference with these changes to the same pose. Breath or two more here. And once you're ready, we'll rise up. You can rise up to your hands and knees. You can rise all the way to downward facing dog if it would feel good to lengthen out your legs here, straighten them out. Toward the knees, sit back on your heels, and take this lovely foot opening stretch. And of course, the further upright you sit, the more intensity we've got there. So lean forward as much as you need to. Soften your shoulders, soften your face. A few breaths more. And then from here, with the toes untucked this time, I'm going to give a suggestion for the prop setup, knowing that we aren't all necessarily working with the same stuff here, but just do your best as you need for your body. So what I'm going to do with my blanket here is hold it not in a really tight roll, but I'm going to sit this under my sitting bones for a little support here in a hero's pose or saddle pose, as we call it in yin. And so with a little lift under the hips, this could also be a block, by the way, my feet can come to the sides of my hips. Okay, if that's too much on the knees, you can bring the feet back in. If it's really hurting your knees, then you can also release your legs to bend knees up here, okay? So we're looking for some stretch here in the hip flexors, and we're gonna come back into a back bend. So we can do that even with the legs straightened out. Another option, taking one leg at a time, all right? So one knee bent, one leg straight. And I will make sure to cue about halfway. So behind you, we'll need something else because we're going to come back. So your elbows can serve as a prop here too. It'll require just a little more holding up of the body, but you can prop back onto your elbows here. And if that's, so I'm already halfway under my bolster here, so I'm coming all the way down. And it's still pretty gentle here with this item behind me. You might, of course, be open enough tonight to do this without any props at all. That's entirely possible, but I just like the support of something underneath because it's a pretty deep back bend. It can also pull on the knees. So once you get where you're going, find your breath, find your stillness in the posture. The arms might open up a little wider, both for stability and just to open across the chest a bit more. Have one leg lengthened out. We'll take a few breaths more here and then make that switch. Elsewhere. If you're feeling pretty good where you're at, don't feel any pressure to change anything. Let's take another breath here. Exhale it out. And we'll carefully start to make our way out. You might bring your torso back upright. If you're pretty deep into this and you feel like you can just release your legs, you can also just straighten the legs. Otherwise, coming up, feeling that effect as you sit upright, letting go of the back bend. And then let's let go of the legs as soon as you're ready. Back up to this tabletop. This seems to be where we're ending up today. I'm going to scoot my blanket over here to the right side of the mat and press the spine up toward the ceiling, tucking your chin and your tail, coming into a cat pose. So just pause in this cat, rounding your back tremendously. Along the way. From here, we'll slide the right knee, the right shin toward the top of the mat, setting up for our swan pose, scooting that left leg, lengthening it out, scooting it back. And my blanket's over here. You want to bring a little padding under that right hip to bridge any space there. A good use of that prop. Another good place to pay attention to the knees. If there's any pain going on in that right knee, you can always come onto your back and take a figure four, crossing your right ankle over the left knee. Even take that up against the wall, planting the left sole of the foot on the wall to make that really nice and relaxing. So whenever you're ready, I'm just taking a few breaths here upright, feeling my way into the hips as they start to open, and then walking it forward. If you've got a sea of props around you, like I do, you can take something under your chest, under your forehead. You can also use your hands, stacking your palms, your fists. Giving yourself a little height here or a block under the forehead. Just play around with it as you settle in. Notice if you're holding any tension anywhere in the body. Try your best to release and let go. More than welcome to stay here in a neutral sleeping swan. If you'd like to add in a threading, a little twist in the upper body, the left arm can thread underneath the right. And I'm going to keep my block here, turning my left temple, left ear to the mat. And then this right arm it can walk forward, it can just kind of rest here, or it can wrap behind your back. If this is too much, if you get there and you're like, that didn't do anything for me, or it it's causing you to tense up, just go back. Take it back a step. It's okay. So much of this practice is straddling that sometimes fine line between what's a good uncomfortable, where we're pushing our edge, our boundary in a gentle, safe way, in a way that will affect growth. And the other side of that edge, peering over that edge to where it's maybe not safe for the body, not right for us on the mat at any particular moment. And listening to ourselves, knowing that difference. It's really easy to listen to the ego and force our way past somewhere, or to listen to that voice of fear that keeps us from dipping our toe in that place that's more uncomfortable. Just take a couple more breaths here. It's definitely a balance. Like anything, some days comes easier than others. We'll start to unwind the arms as we come out of this. And as you bring yourself up here, lift up through the torso. And then let's ease over onto this right hip. And drag the left leg in, bending that knee, finding our way into a deer pose, which we make that letter Z with the legs. Right leg probably hasn't changed too much. If you're on your back, just come and join us up here. It'll be worth it, I promise. And then I'm going to keep this blanket over here, so I'll keep it rolled up. And you can give yourself as much height over here to the right side of your right thigh here. And we'll turn and twist to the right. If this is enough, just keeping this upright, you are also welcome to stay there. Or come down to your forearms, come down to a prop, and sink down into this twist. Couple breaths more here in our deer pose. Start to lift up. Let go of your twist, and let's take a little counter over to the left. You can Grab onto that left shin or ankle. Just gaze over the left shoulder. Take a breath or two here. And let's bring everything prop-wise over to the left side of the mat here. And we'll return back to hands and knees. Go ahead and stretch that right leg out. Maybe circle it out. You might be doing this from downward dog. That's all good. And once you're ready for that second side, left knee will slide forward. And the shin scoots forward as well, lengthening the right leg back. Using any propping under the hip here. Maybe a little more height under this side. Setting just as long as you need in this upright position. Observing what's happening. Taking it to your forward fold whenever you're ready, if you're going there. To add it on, this time our right arm will thread underneath the left, right temple coming down to your block or the floor, wrapping that arm behind the left arm behind the back, or reaching it forward. Back to how we approach our discomfort and when we sit with it and when we move away from it. I can't recall any time where putting that skill to practice was more needed than right now. Like on a daily, sometimes hourly basis, we're really being pushed to our boundaries and our edges of what we know and what we are used to and what's comfortable. either get really reactive and respond to fear, or we can take that pause, we can assess what's going on and become responsive versus reactive. Might involve sitting with some things we don't want to. Let's take a couple breaths more. Almost there. Slowly start to unravel yourself, coming up. And we'll ease over onto that left hip this time. Sliding the right leg in. Making this deer shape, letter Z. Keeping any props over here to the left of your left thigh, turning, twisting. Take a breath. And if you're melting forward, start to come down to elbows, coming down to your prop. Handful of nice breaths here. Releasing. Come back up when you're set. Turn it back toward the right shin. A little counter twist. And then as we let this go on this side, you're of course welcome to come back to down dog, come back to your table. I am going to swing my legs out in front of me, and we can just as easily straighten out this left leg that was just bearing a lot of that stretch, and circle it out, whatever you need here. And let's let both legs be long in front of you. You can of course elevate the hips, sitting on the edge of a blocker blanket here. Soft bend in the knees, maybe a more generous bend. Lift the arms up high. And on your exhale, find a forward fold or caterpillar, rounding forward. Wherever the hands land, where they're meant to be. Drop your forehead, your elbows soften.
If the head begins to feel heavy, you might place a prop on your legs or even just prop your head in your hands. Let's take another breath more. And start to press your palms to walk the spine up, stacking your bones, and sit back, lean back on the hands, just let your hip flexors release. Maybe you pull your shoulder blades together and let your head release back. And then for our last pose, if it's at all possible, find your way to a wall or even to a chair or sofa, somewhere where you can bring your legs up. And if it's not a wall, a chair or sofa actually provide that support to your hips and your thighs, but then you can leave your knees bent at 90 degrees, which is a really nice, gentle way to do this posture without worrying about straightening the legs. So you're coming up against the wall. Get your hips as close as you can, swing them up the wall, and then lie the spine down. And so even if you're at the wall here, don't feel like you need to have those poker straight legs. Just give yourself a bend here. And just notice how that helps you decompress through the low back, taking tension out of the legs, and then letting that softness, letting that ease just trickle down all through your body, right at the crown of your head. As we get settled, I'll just mention that if you do want to lengthen out flat on your back for the last couple of minutes of this Shavasana, you are, of course, welcome. It's your practice, and you can begin and end it, and do everything in between according to what you need versus what I'm suggesting. Feel like this is where you can stay for the next several minutes. Just allow yourself to get still. Allow yourself to really release and relax and surrender here.
more time here. Please, please stay. If you're ready to move into the next part of your Thursday evening, just start with your breath. Taking a nice deep inhale and exhale. Letting your legs, your feet slide down the wall if you're still there. Knees hugging in. And find your way onto one side of your body. Maybe you go the opposite direction from the beginning of class. Pause here. This pose marking the beginning of our practice. Once we leave the mat, Shavasana marks our end of the practice on the mat. And press your way up to seated only when you're ready. Maybe you rest your spine against wherever your legs just were. Sitting up nice and tall. And we'll draw the hands right into the heart center, pressing the palms, resting the thumbs at the sternum. And as we bow the chin toward the chest, bowing in gratitude to ourselves, to this practice that we've shared, and to one another, we say together, with love, with honor, Namaste.